Thanks for joining Toadstool and Fairy Dust for a story that stretches your imagination. It's written by Kayla Leon, and it's called What a Mess, Kid! Hey, if you haven't done so already, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. It's the best way to be kept up to date when I post a new video. James is a little boy full of adventure who lives curiously through his imagination, sometimes getting himself into mischief. He is very good at making a mess. It was another rainy Saturday, and James looked out his window and sighed. What am I going to do today? James's mom walked into his room and saw it completely upside down. Toys covered the floor. Dirty socks hung from the bed. I have a great idea, she said. How about you tidy up your room today, James? Smiling, she left the room. James heard a giggle from the hallway. He looked back and said, "Well, that doesn't seem like very much fun." James started to tidy up, but as he was picking up a blanket hanging halfway off his bed, an idea popped into his head. He ran out of his room in a scurry, on a hunt for blankets in a hurry. He ran into his parents' room, where his mom had just finished making the bed. The sheets were tucked in nice and tight, and everything was clean and organized, just the way she liked. James yanked the blanket from the bed. The pillows flew onto the floor, but that didn't matter. You see, James had a big idea in his head. Next, James ran into the closet and grabbed as many blankets and sheets as he could, leaving behind a trail of tumbled towels as he pulled the last sheet from the closet. As James dropped all the blankets and sheets on his bedroom floor, he had another big idea. Yes, I need to go to the garage. James and his dog Lincoln raced to the garage on a hunt for a fan. They made sure to jump in a few muddy puddles along the way. In the garage, James found a window fan. This is perfect, he said. He yanked the fan from the window, pulling the cord right out of the wall. Oops, he shrugged, and he went away. He ran back to his room and began to hang the blankets from one corner of his bunk bed to the next. When he was done, different colored sheets hung all around his bed. Then he took a few pieces of string, attached them from the window fan, and hung the fan off the front of his bed. He plugged it in and said, "Flight attendants, take your seats. We are about to take off." With one giant exciting leap, James jumped into his bunk bed airplane. To his surprise, when he opened his eyes, he was high up in the sky. Woohoo! James could see clouds all around him, and the sun was shining on his plane. With a big smile on his face, he yelled, "We're really flying, Lincoln!" But James could see some nasty weather up ahead. He took hold of the steering wheel as tight as his hands could manage. The plane started shaking. They were headed straight for a big thunderstorm. But James knew what to do. After all, he was the best pilot in the world, just like his grandpa. James looked over at his co-pilot and said, "Lincoln, brace yourself." He pulled up as hard as he could, jolting the plane upward. He dodged lightning bolts, but they could still hear the thunder roaring around them. Lincoln had a very worried look on his face. "Aw, don't worry, Lincoln. I got this," James told him. He grasped the steering wheel as tight as he could and managed to steady the plane. It was now smooth sailing up ahead. But then he heard a knock on the cockpit door. Who would that be up so high in the sky? He wondered. "What a mess, kid," James's mom said. And the room was a mess. Bright-colored blankets hung from all corners of the bunk bed. James popped up from his bed, with the dirty socks dangling from his head, while Lincoln's hair and papers were blown around by the fan. They all shared a good laugh, but James knew his mom would soon ask him to tidy up his room, for real this time. James looked at his mom and said, "Don't worry, Mama, I'll clean it up." He started to gather the blankets and sheets, but then James had another big idea. pop into his head. This time, it might have something to do with a washing machine adventure. Stay tuned for the next book to find out. The end.